Welcome to the Britcar production and the production sports cars. We're here at Donington Park. Now, the last few years we've been bringing you the production race. Now we are bringing you the sports car series as well. So enjoy the highlights of these 3 races. Let's get racing.
Thanks, Rachel. Jake Sanson here, taking you through the action for the Britcar Production Sports Car Series. New for 2013, 2 45-minute races in the same day. Drivers can go alone or with a co-driver, so let's have a look at the grid. Richard Bennett and Guillaume Gruchet make it an all-Porsche front row, although it's a 993 ahead of a Boxster. Paul Moravec in his Newbridge Motorsport Boxster alongside Alan Broad in the 987, ahead of the Mazda MX-5 of Chrissy Palmer and the Ginetta G20 of Marcus Vivian. Great racing to be had from these guys. It may be a small grid this time. Next time it'll be a bit bigger, but we're away racing, and Rick Bennett is off like a rocket. I actually think he might have got off a bit too quickly there in the 993 into the first corner. I think he was out of position from the grid before they actually got off the line. But anyway, into the first corner. And the Class 3 Mazdas and Ginetta G20 just following in pursuit of the 4 Porsches. And that's the only 2 classes we have represented for this first race. Oh no, that's the MGA Mazda! That's Nicola Gillett, I believe, going off there on the exit of Old Hairpin, but what a nice recovery, getting back on the circuit at Starkey's Bridge. That's not a mean feat, fantastic stuff. As up the inside there goes Paul Moravec on the inside of Alan Broad, as they're trying to get away from a very fast-moving 99 of Chrissy Palmer, who's really starting to bet that Mazda MX-5 go fast. Now into the pit, that's Richard Bennett, so he's been given a stop-go penalty, so that must be for that manoeuvre. On the start line, he must have been out of position. He rejoins just behind the Ryan Sefferty Dave Whitmore Mazda MX-5, so he's going to have to do all that hard work again. I think he's rejoined in about 7th place. Hang on, that's David Hornsey. That's the 0, and it says for hire on the back. You're wondering what that means. Well, this is the MX-5 that is for hire. If you want to go racing in it, just give the guys a call at Britcar. But that one is not going much further today. It looks like mechanical problems have brought David Hornsey into the pit. Here comes Rick Bennett on the inside then of the Mazda. Worlds apart, these 2 cars, Class 1 and Class 3. Rick Bennett making his way back up another position. And back into the pit lane, that's Paul Moravec making his pit stop. So now we have the prospect of watching Rick Bennett closing in on Guillaume Gruchet in the Newbridge Boxster. Straight up the inside. I wouldn't have picked that as an obvious passing move up at Coppice, but he certainly made it work. Beautiful driving there once again from Rick Bennett. And out of the pit lane, that looks like the Ryan Sefferty Dave Whitmore Mazda MX-5 prepared by MG8. So back on their way again. And is this Rick Bennett making his mandatory pit stop now? I do believe it is, because that pit stop earlier on was not a mandatory one. That was his penalty. And into the pits as well comes Guillaume Gruchet in the Newbridge Porsche. So they're both in together, and it's going to be interesting to see who gets out first here. So the 2 Porsches are in together. Gruchet is ahead in the pit road. Oh, a bit of a slide in the background there. We just saw the Mazda. I think that was Chrissy Palmer out of the final corner. It could well have been Nicola Gillett. Not quite sure who it was out of that final corner, but Moravec is going to take the lead here in the Newbridge Porsche. Nice driving. Of course, the Newbridge boys also race their Porsches in the British Racing Sports Car Club's Porsche Championship. That's Gruchet coming out in front of Rick Bennett. So the Newbridge boys have done a brilliant job with their pit stops. They've got out in front of Rick Bennett, and it's going to be all about who can make these tyres work the best. Oh, we've got a great dice here. This is the Sefferty and Whitmore Mazda battling it out with Marcus Vivian in the Reflex Ginetta G20. Oh, that's not gone well! Dear oh dear, they lose it on the exit of the Old Hairpin and very, very close to the wall, but fortunately just about getting out of that one. Rick Bennett on the inside of Guillaume Gruchet. Beautifully done on the inside through Hollywood and down to the Craner curves. Rick Bennett has got the position. That's some good driving. That's put him into 2nd place, just behind Paul Moravec. So that's going to be quite interesting. Come the second half, that's that dust cloud thrown up by the Mazda that just went off a moment ago. Well, the Mazda back in play now, as you can see. And now Rick Bennett has caught up to the back of Paul Moravec on the outside for the chicane. That was very nicely done. In fact, it looks like Moravec might actually be... Oh no, he's just taking a wide line. I thought he was going to be coming into the pit lane there. Oh, and that's Gruchet! Gruchet loses it. Dear oh dear. So Gruchet losing it at McLean's. Managing to get back on again, and that's a big off. That's at the Craner curves on the run to the Old Hairpin. And that is the 88. I think that might be Mike Gorton in the car this time. So, goodness me, both drivers getting a little bit heavy-handed in the first race of the day. But Rick Bennett in the number 7 has worked very hard today in the first race. Comes across the line, checkered flag time, and he's delighted. That's a Class 1 and an overall win. Brilliant drive. That is superior speed from the number 7 Porsche. In second position, it's going to be Chrissy Palmer. A very quiet race in the 99 Mazda, but that's a 1 and 2 for the 2 winners in Class 1 and 3. Brilliant performance. Third position is Gruchet ahead of Paul Morovic. Fifth position is the Sefferty and Whitmore Mazda MX-5 MGA ahead of Marcus Vivian's Ginetta and Nicola Gillett and Mike Gorton in the Class 3 MGA Mazda. Time for race 2 now. On the starting grid, is Rick Bennett going to get the job this time? No, I think that's perfectly clean this time around, so no problems there. No Alan Broad on the grid this time. Mechanical problems have kept him off the grid for the second race, sadly. So up to the first corner. Bennett is your leader ahead of Gruchet, and here comes Palmer round the outside. Chrissy Palmer outclassing Morovic on the start there. So brilliant driving from Chrissy Palmer. Now wheel to wheel with Paul Morovic. Round the outside, beautifully done there from Chrissy Palmer, up into second place, chasing down Rick Bennett once again. Really starting to make an impact on this world of the Britcar Production Sports Car Series. Now moving over and just letting the straight line speed of Paul Morovic's Boxster take control. This is Class 1 versus Class 3, and Chrissy Palmer's just got so much more grip and control and speed through the corners. The Porsche may have the straight line advantage, but Chrissy Palmer is really on it. So the Sefferty Whitmore Mazda going once again in battle with Marcus Vivian's Ginetta. And it looks like Marcus has got a good run here. Down the main straight. Looks like it could be a good move into the chicane. Right and left. Beautifully done there. And the Ginetta G20 is ahead. Nice driving. On the straight line, though, it's going to be the Mazda that gets him back on pure straight line speed. You're going to get a lot of this in the Britcar Production Sports Car Series. A lot of drivers will pick cars based on whether they are good through the corners or through the straights, and that provides brilliant overtaking. The Mazda gets the Ginetta on the straight, but through the corners, the Ginetta is much more nimble, and these guys are going to be wheel to wheel all the way through. Oh, but it's ended in tears. Marcus Vivian has come a cropper. I believe that's at the first corner, and I did see spots of rain on the camera lens, so the rain is really starting to become an issue now for the Production Sports Car Series drivers. Oh dear, Marcus Vivian just getting out of the gravel trap there. That's cost him some time, but he's back on the circuit again and off on his way. Is he? I hope he can engage a gear. It's a bit of a tricky performance for him, but there we go. Back on the circuit again. Very nice indeed there from Marcus Vivian. No doubt he'll be making a factor in this race once again. Into the pit lane then for the mandatory second pit stop of the day. That looks like Chrissy Palmer in the 99 Mazda in the pit lane, and also into the pits comes Gruchet in the Newbridge Porsche. So both drivers will want to perhaps think about wet tyres at this stage. Rick Bennett still ploughing on ahead in the number 7 Porsche. Untouchable in the second race, just as he was in the first. But now it's time for the pit stop. Is he going to be caught out here by his opponents? It's going to be very tricky to see how he can cope with the pressure. Well, as you can see, the rain is getting heavier. This is a little later in the race, and Gruchet now having to defend from the number 7 Rick Bennett, who's not actually finding it as easy as he was. I think Rick Bennett is actually choosing to go with the slick tyres on this particular occasion. So it's not going to be easy for him to cope in these conditions. It's not totally treacherous weather conditions we've got here. It's light drizzle, which is causing a bit of an issue. The rain is now actually, I said it was drizzle. It is actually starting to get a bit heavier now, but Rick Bennett is braving it out all the way to the bitter end of this race by the look of it. And that's the checkered flag. I do believe he has been shown. So Rick Bennett taking 2 wins out of 2 despite the conditions, and that is fantastic as far as he's concerned. The Newbridge Porsche Boxsters have put in a great early showing as well, and they certainly have deserved their finishes in good stead as well. But 2 wins out of 2 for Rick Bennett. There will be more cars out on the grid at Donington Park for the second round of the championship, but they're all going to have to work very hard indeed to beat this boy. So despite the weather conditions, it's 2 out of 2 for Rick Bennett in the innovative IT Gone Racing Porsche. It's the 70 Whitmore Mazda MX-5 that comes home second in Class 3, just ahead of Chrissy Palmer, who only had his dad to change the tyres in the pit lane. Not bad considering. Morovic is 4th, Gillett and Gorton are 5th, and what a fantastic pair of races we've had.
I'm joined by our class winners. We've got David, Ryan, Rich, and I'm very proud of myself that I got that right. First of all, I want to talk about tyre strategy because slicks, this weather. Start with you, David. Has it been an issue, the tyres?
Well, no. Today's been a good day, and we've always been wary about if it's going to rain, it's going to stay dry, how we're going to go. And today it stayed dry for the first half. Yeah. And as about 3 laps before I was coming in, it started to rain. So obviously the decision I was asked to make a decision if we should go to wets. The genetics come off at the corner, so I spent a bit of time with it, and I thought, well, yeah, it's getting worse and worse, so I've radioed through and said, let's get wets on. Ryan will look a bit concerned with the decision, but he obviously ploughed on and he brought it home and did a really good job.
Yeah, fantastic job.
But we just kept driving it to its limit. We obviously had to back off. But today the car just felt so well balanced. It had a tiny bit of understeer, so when it got wet, it just gave me the signals I needed, and we just brought it home.
Some of the biggest upheavals in American sports is in the world of motor racing, especially sports car racing. There's mergers, new series being proposed, audiences coming and going, drivers getting younger and younger. That's why you need the Racing Insiders on MAV TV to help you navigate the turmoil. The Racing Insiders is a new, weekly, 30-minute news show covering sports car racing, whether it's being done professionally, globally, or by the local grassroots club. Award-winning journalist Bill Wood will host the weekly discussions, along with race-winning insiders Peter Cunningham in Florida and Jim Daniels in Tennessee. It's a fast-paced, edgy sports show. They'll even reach out to guest insiders to bring you behind-the-scenes insider information you'll want to know. This new era in sports car racing needs the Racing Insiders.
The Racing Insiders on MAV TV, Thursdays at 2 and 5 p.m. Eastern, and again on Saturdays at noon.
Welcome back to Donington Park. It's the first round of the 2013 Britcar Production Cup, and this is the championship that bridges the gap between touring car racing and the MSA British Endurance Championship. What a grid we've got for you. Michael Symons and Keith Webster on pole position in the Geoff Steele Racing BMW, the team that won last year's Silverstone 24 Hours. Adam Hayes and Mark Radcliffe in the Intersport BMW lineup second. Craig Davies and Adam Jones in the Sub-Zero Wolf Seat start ahead of Mark and Peter Cunningham in the SG Racing Seat. The leaders in Class 2 are Dave, Jason and Michael Cox in the MMC BMW in 5th on the grid. The Class 3 leaders are in 9th place, Nigel Ainge, Mike Jordan and Andrew Jordan in the Eurotech Honda Integra. And the Class 4 leader on the grid is 15th place, Tony Skelton in the Renault Clio. Some amazing drivers, great teams, and some former British touring car stars on the grid as well, and even a current British touring car racer and an ex-Formula 1 driver. So away they go down to the Roberts chicane, the end of the lap, just to make sure that everybody is in formation before we get going for the 2013 season, and that is the champions, HE Racing from last year, starting from the pit lane. So Harry and Edward Cockill will actually have an uphill mountain to climb before the season has even started. So they all stagger into position on the rolling start, and when the lights go out, we will be racing for the 2013 season, and away we go. And it's a great start from the Intersport BMW of Adam Hayes, who launches his way down to the inside line, but he's not able to get through because Michael Symons is guarding that inside line very nicely here. It's side by side for the SG Racing and Sub-Zero Wolf Seats. Well, there's another Seat making its launch down to Redgate from the pit lane. And I think, actually, that's the SG Racing Seat up to 3rd position. Yes, indeed. Mark Cunningham has got himself up into 3rd position. 4th is the Sub-Zero Wolf. And up to 5th now is the TCR Seat of Graham Johnson and Mike Robertson. There it is, the black and green luminous machine. And that's managed to get past Dave Cox in the MMC BMW. So that's a good start from them. A new team to the championship. Up the inside then goes the Sub-Zero Wolf car of Craig Davies to move up into 3rd position once again. I have a feeling these two Seats, Sub-Zero Wolf and SG Racing, are going to be squabbling all race long and possibly even all season long as well. Brilliant opening lap. Everybody's got through nice and cleanly. It's a lot closer than the British Endurance Championship. A lot of the racers will finish on the same lap, even after an hour and a half's racing. So there's plenty of action still to come in this one. But Adam Hayes has got himself into the lead in the Intersport BMW, having taken Michael Symons and Keith Webster's Geoff Steele Racing BMW on the first lap. Third is the Sub-Zero Wolf Seat. Fourth is the SG Racing Seat, and it looks like we had a bit of a look there from the 13 Bubble and Kick BMW. That's Mike Moss and Tom Howard trying to make their way past the Coxes in their MMC Motorsport BMW. Some great moves, but they all have to take it nice and easy in the first couple of laps, especially through the Craner curves when the tyres will be a little bit colder. They're not quite up to rhythm yet. They've just got to pace themselves. You can't win the race in the first 10 minutes. That Bubble and Kit car looking very stable in the first couple of laps. Another new team to the championship, Henry Gilbert and Henry Dawes in the Track Talk Seat Super Copa, and they're chasing down the 44 Seat, I believe. That's the Fold Sport boys of Simon Roach and Simon Mason. So some brilliant entries in the 2013 season. It's making the championship very strong from the off. So the order so far, it's BMW, Seat, BMW and BMW. I'm not trying to complicate things, but it's pretty much all one-way traffic for BMW and Seat in the opening round of the championship at least. These are pretty much solely based saloon cars, this championship. There are a few other exceptions. Here comes a move from the TCR Seat on the inside of the SG Racing Seat, but Cunningham very cleverly shuts the door, but he's left it wide open down the Craner curves through Hollywood, and they're side by side as they make their way through to the Craner curves. Is he going to pop up on the inside? No, Mark Cunningham has decided he's not coming through there, so he remains in fourth position, and Graham Johnson has to just tuck in formation once again. So some great battling in the early laps, particularly from the BMWs. They're going to be going for this all race long. And it's going to be quite tough to see. We've already got some defensive moves there from the MMC Motorsport BMW, hugging that inside line up at McLean's, trying to keep the Bubble and Kick BMW behind it. It's very difficult in the early stages to build a rhythm, and while you're keeping heat in the tyres, you have to maintain track position as well. So the drivers are going to try everything they can to hold station. If an overtaking move appears, though, you can bet they're going to go for it. Just popping into the back of this train is the other Intersport BMW of the Lone Ranger, Martin Thomas. There's no co-driver to swap over with. He's going to do the entire 90-minute race all under his own steam. There's only 3 drivers doing that this year. The other 2 are Tony Skelton in the Renault Clio and Alan James in the Synchro Honda Jazz, which is battling for Class 4 honours a little further down the order. There's Michael Symons pushing hard in the number 4. Had some good solo drives last year, and he was part of the winning team at the Britcar 24 Hours, of course, as well. A Class 2 BMW even outclassing the Class 1s in the British Endurance Championship that took to the circuit at Silverstone. And speaking of Alan James a minute ago, and there he is, battling it out with the Renault Clio of Tony Skelton. So just as I was talking about them, they're battling on track. They're in different classes, I believe. No, sorry, they're not. They are both battling for Class 4 honours. So that could be a season-long battle. And we look once again at the Fold Sport versus Track Talk battle. Simon Roach in the 44, ahead of Henry Gilbert in the 37. They make their run down to the chicane at the end of the lap. I don't think he's not going to be able to make an overtaking move from there. He's too far back at this point. Just in front of them, you just saw Nigel Ainge in the Eurotech Honda Integra pulling away. The 2 co-drivers in the team are once again Mike Jordan, a former British touring car driver, and Andrew Jordan, who of course is a current British touring car driver. Oh, that's a spin! That's Skelton. Skelton in the Clio has gone, and another spinner. That's the Ginetta. I think that's Webster. Is that in the number 50? Goodness me, so it's all kicking off at Redgate now that we've got the pace up a little bit. Drivers pushing very hard indeed. So out of the old hairpin they come. There's Skelton in the 17. Now where's his companion who spun with him? I couldn't quite make out which of the Ginettas that was, whether it was the DCB Academy Motorsport car or whether that was the TCS Ginetta piloted by Anthony Rogers and Dave Barker. Maybe we'll find that out a bit later. The BMW is battling at the front then, as Michael Symons has picked up the pace. And now he's caught up with the Hayes and Radcliffe BMW once again. on the inside. They're going to be drag racing down to the chicane, but Symons is going to get plenty of power. He takes him on the entrance to the chicane, but now can the Intersport boys outbrake him? Oh, very close as dust and smoke comes off the tyres as they brake for the chicane. Fantastic stuff from Michael Symons. He holds the lead with some brilliant manoeuvring. Oh, that's Alan James in the Synchro Honda Jazz. He's gone at Redgate himself now. So, a lot of drivers dropping it going into the first corner and then having to recover. Well, it looks like the TCR Seat has now got past the Sub-Zero Wolf Seat, and now he's being chased down, Craig Davies, by the MMC Motorsport car. I believe it's Dave Cox who's behind the wheel of that at the moment. So some very interesting battles in the opening stages of this race. I did say it's halfway between touring cars and the British Endurance Championship. You get just as much action as both championships put together here. And here at Donington Park, it couldn't really be a better arena to kickstart a season. Some great racing being provided, and those clouds overhead look pretty ominous. I think we could be in for perhaps a few drops of rain towards the end of this race as well. So lots of action still to come on this one. Still a nice battle developing between those two, though, the Sub-Zero Wolf Seat and the MMC BMW. That's the Mini Cooper getting out of the way. That's the Intersport Mini Cooper, in fact. They've decided to go for a slightly different car. They're going for Class 4 honours as well. It's Danny Russell and Duncan Rogers behind the wheel of that one this season. And they get out of the way very professionally, very nicely down the home straight. Of course, different classes competing over the course of the championship year. And strong results in each of the classes means you can get good championship points. Just a quick peepo. Is he going to get through on the exit of Redgate? Oh, Tony Skelton, that spin has obviously uncovered an underlying technical issue, and they're going to push him back into the garage. That is a disappointment. Oh, well, that's a telltale sign. There's a leak somewhere. Still, this battle goes on between the Professional Motorsport World Expo Seat of Graham Johnson and Mike Robinson and Craig Davies and Adam Jones in the Sub-Zero Wolf Seat. A very strong car from last year, don't forget. Took a lot of outright victories. And that's a car that could well be challenging the HE Racing boys for the championship, who've started a bit low-key compared to last year. They couldn't stop winning in the 2012 season, but they haven't had long to develop the car in 2013. I think this weekend is actually the first time they've done a proper run with the new Seat, so you can't really blame them, especially considering they're going from a Honda Civic, which they were running last year, to a brand new car. Another move position, that is. The 13 Bubble and Kick BMW making a move on the ING Sport BMW. Now, they're running in different classes, so that's not a huge surprise. The Class 3 car of Ian Lawson and Anthony and Mike Wilds. Mike Wilds, of course, a former Formula 1 driver. So they're getting out of the way. They've got their own race to run, and that's the Intersport BMW of Martin Thomas making his way into the pit lane for the first scheduled pit stop, I do believe. Back on the track, still the TCR Seat, Johnson and Robinson battling it out with the Bubble and Kick boys, Mike Moss and Tom Howard, down to the old hairpin, looking pretty comfortable and stable. This is the point where the drivers are now into a rhythm, but they've now got to think about strategy. When do we make the pit stop? When do we make the driver change? So here comes Moss onto the back of Johnson. Is he going to get a nice line out of McLean's here and the run up to Coppice Corner? He's too far back at this point, but he looks like he's sizing up a very nice move going into the final chicane. We're going to stay with this now as they run down the straight. Let's see how it goes. Plenty of acceleration from the BMW. Is there going to be a move made here? No, he's too far back. He's got to try and... The trouble is that you've got to time the moves perfectly in this championship. You can't just banzai into the corner like you could in touring cars, because it's a much longer race and you've got to keep those cars going a bit longer. So down the main straight they come still, and look how far back the Sub-Zero Wolf Seat is now. Craig Davies and Adam Jones have slipped behind these two for the time being, so whether that's just pacing themselves and waiting to come back into the game later or not, it's a bit tough to tell whether these guys really do have the measure. That's the Intersport BMW of Martin Thomas, now going wheel to wheel with the MMC Motorsport boys. So his recovery from the pit stop is going quite well. It always baffles me how the drivers who decide to go solo elect to do that when you could very easily hand over to a teammate or two. There are three teams on the grid that have 3 drivers, and there's 3 that have only 1. Everybody else has just got the 2. Plenty of action still to come. We'll be back in a moment.
Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new Go Racing TV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Welcome back to Donington Park. You join us at a brilliant moment because Thomas is making the move on the inside of the MMC BMW. Fantastic move there from Martin Thomas in the Intersport car. He timed that to absolute perfection up at Coppice Corner, so he certainly knows how to wait for a good moment. Down to the chicane, and there's a nice little battle brewing here with these two BMWs, and behind them we've got the SG Racing Seat Super Copa of Mark and Peter Cunningham, and behind them we might be able to see in the shot here, if you look just back to the red Seat, that's last year's champions, the HE Racing Seat of Harry and Edward Cockill, an 11th hour deal they put together to be on the grid for the 2013 season, and it's a delight to see them once again. Looking through the field, I've actually just realised that Michael Symons in the Geoff Steele Racing BMW is racing alone this weekend. He's got Keith Webster registered as a co-driver, but Keith is not here for one reason or another, or certainly not racing for one reason or another, so no doubt we'll see him later in the year. But Michael Symons is doing what he did best in 2012, which was control the race single-handed. He certainly did some good jobs last year, and it looks like he's going to try and repeat the feat again here at Donington Park. Now we've got Thomas making the move on the Bubble and Kick BMW, where Chris Webster is bringing the DCB Academy Ginetta into the pits, no doubt to hand over to Matt Nicol-Jones, and we've got a beautifully synchronised diagonal line of 5 cars down the main straight. But Tom Howard, I think, in the Bubble and Kick BMW is just moving aside and letting them go through. I think he's had a couple of problems of his own over the course of the race. Pit stop there for the DCB Academy Ginetta boys. Thomas has got through on the 13 Bubble and Kick BMW. I can't think he would have just moved over and let him go through unless he was trying a different strategy, or if he's got some kind of issue, we don't know. He goes through the old hairpin. Oh, he's a little bit wide there. Oh, and the Intersport BMW's gone wide as well. And the SG Racing Seat goes through. So the Cunninghams have moved up a place. And it looks like the Cockills were having a go as well. Yes, indeed. They've gone down the inside as well. So the MMC BMW has been totally mugged there by the two Seats. He's got through both the Seats have got through the MMC BMW there. And they've just gone through the pit lane as the MMC BMW now takes to the pits. So there he is. Oh, he's got a little garden gnome helping him out in the pit crew. Fantastic. The MMC boys certainly know how to do things with style. Into the garage then comes, I think it was Dave Cox who started, and hands over to Jason, or it could be Michael. I think they'll have to tell me afterwards who did it in what order. They've got a lot of smoke coming off that left front brake though. That's an issue. The Honda Integra going through for its own pit stop. Nigel Ainge no doubt handing over to Mike Jordan. Up the inside goes the Sub-Zero Wolf Seat. That's Craig Davies. No doubt to be handing over to another former British touring car driver, Adam Jones. A little bit later on, he's just lapped Tony Skelton in the Renault Clio, one of the potential championship winners for Class 4. And of course, if you dominate your class, you could end up winning the whole thing. Well, the Seat is there behind the 89 Ginetta. And into the pit lane comes the SG Racing Seat, that is the Cunninghams. And the MMC Motorsport BMW surely on its way out onto the pits, although that smoke doesn't give me any positive thoughts, but out they go onto the circuit, do they? Yes, they do. So back onto the circuit go the MMC BMW boys, and I wonder what position that's going to put them back out onto the circuit. Oh, in comes the 13 Bubble and Kick BMW. That doesn't look particularly... Yeah, that doesn't look particularly good, I'm afraid. It looks like Tom Howard is bringing that in for a terminal issue, certainly for a mechanical problem. That's not gone well for them at all. They were slow a little bit earlier on. Maybe that's just a problem that's been developing. Well, into the pits comes Craig Davies in the Sub-Zero Wolf Seat. He'll hand over to Adam Jones. And they've got a good potential for a cracking result here. They've really been plugging away at that car, and it's been coming back. It had a bit of a slump in the early part of the race, and now they're really starting to get back on with it again. Here is the man on his own, the Geoff Steele Racing Mark 1 BMW. Michael Symons way out in front, and they wait for the fuel can. This is what you have to do in a pit stop. The driver gets out, then the fuel goes in, then once the fuel is done, then the co-driver gets back onto, gets into the car, and then they go for the tyres. It has to be done in that order, and there's a minimum time limit. It has to be before you can send the cars back out on track again. Well, we've got a battle on track here. This is Martin Thomas defending from the HE Racing boys in the Seat. That's the Sub-Zero Racing Seat of Adam Jones getting out onto the circuit once again. looks like a pretty good pit stop as far as I'm concerned. We'll see how that puts them in the order. Things not going too well for the Bubble and Kick BMW, and that was very nearly side by side there as the HE Racing Seat made a move on the Intersport BMW. Maybe he's going to get him on the way up to Coppice. Yes, under braking, straight up on the inside. Perfect, textbook move, and there's not much Martin Thomas can do about that one except come back for more. Well, a couple of cars in front of them, they'll need them to get out of the way fairly sharpish. The Lowen, I thought that was the Lowen Mini Cooper there, but it's not. That's not here this weekend. That is the Intersport Mini Cooper though, so Martin Thomas's colleague in the other Intersport car, they're running in Class 4. So it'll be interesting to see how the Mini Cooper fares amongst the likes of the Synchro Honda Jazz and the Anthony Rogers Ginetta, but things are not going well for the Bubble and Kick BMW. That really does look like a hide to nothing. It's a real shame. That car was going very strong. Here's another car that's going well, the black and green Seat that's just gone out of the picture, the TCR Seat Super Copa of Graham Johnson and Mike Robinson. They're having a great battle at the moment with the MMC BMW, and they've done a very good job in this first race, considering that it's early stages in the season. That car looks good. Problems, it looks like, for the Intersport BMW as Gilbert and Dawes in the Track Talk Seat leave the pits. But that looked like Hayes and Radcliffe in the Intersport BMW. They started on the front row of the grid, don't forget, having a bit of a spit and polish under the bonnet. Well, they're back out again. So hopefully that's all they need to consider now. They don't really... Hopefully that wasn't a major mechanical problem, but that Bubble and Kick BMW, you can see in the background, the black and yellow car still in the pit lane, and that's not good for them. Michael Symons looks to be chasing down the SG Racing Seat. I wonder if that's to lap them. Meanwhile, the other Seat Super Copa, this is the Professional Motorsport World Expo car, lapping the ING Sport BMW of Ian Lawson and Mike and Anthony Wilds. Mike Wilds is, of course, a former Formula 1 driver. Has raced pretty much everything from Formula 1 to touring cars to sports cars. This guy knows his motor racing. And even though he was an F1 driver in the 1970s, he's still lost absolutely no desire. Into the pit lane comes the HE Racing Seat. So the champions from last year, this is all a bit of a learning process with their new car, but they're doing a good job. Symons on the inside. Oh dear, that's not gone well. He's up on the sausage curbs there on the new reprofiled chicane. And that didn't go well, but he's recovered from it very quickly. So the SG Racing Seat is left to run out ahead of him for the moment. And I think that is for track position. So the Cunninghams have got one up on the Symons car at the moment. Not going too badly as far as they're concerned. Into the pit lane comes Anthony Rogers and Dave Barker in the TCS Ginetta. Hopefully they're going pretty well in Class 4 at this point. But Michael Symons still running alone. I suppose the first mistake was always going to come. It's not easy when you have to run the whole race by yourself, and he's doing a very good job considering. There's your reigning champions, 2012 Class 2 champion, and that was enough to give them the overall championship as well. And they'll be hoping to repeat the feat in 2013. Well, the team having a bit of a debate there. Well, the Bubble and Kick BMW has been out, and now, oh dear, it's going straight into the garage. I don't think that car is going any further today. That is a disappointment. The 13, perhaps it's unlucky for them today. Well, the Intersport BMW of Martin Thomas. The other car has two drivers. Well, Martin's doing it all by himself, but now he's under pressure from the Sub-Zero Wolf car. That's Adam Jones making a move as the Intersport Mini comes in. So Danny Russell and Duncan Rogers, and that was a beautiful move on the straight from Adam Jones. He is driving a good race here. They've got good speed and good pace at the moment in that Seat, and that could end up paying dividends later on. Well, it looks like the ING Sport car is picking its targets. The Seat Sport there, that's the Seat Super Copa, my apologies. That's the Fold Sport car of Simon Roach and Simon Mason, my apologies again. So many names to get right here. And Michael Symons makes his way into the pit lane for his scheduled pit stop. Now, what you won't see is him getting out of the car to change over to somebody else, because he's doing it all on his own. Here comes the Roach and Mason Fold Sport Seat on the inside of the ING Sport BMW, and they are racing each other for on-track position, but they're not racing each other for class, because the Fold Sport Seat is a Class 2 car and the ING Sport BMW is a Class 3 car, so they're racing for their individual classes. Looking back, There's the Renault Clio of Tony Skelton, so he's motoring on despite the problems. Adam Jones just carving his way through the field. Look at him go, he's picking them off like flies. Brilliant stuff there. And Michael Symons making a good pit stop there by the look of things. But he's going to have to be careful because Adam Jones is really stepping up the pace. He might lose the lead here. It's going to be quite close, but considering how far back Adam Jones and Craig Davies was at one point, that would be pretty spectacular if he does get the lead. He's made up a massive amount of time. He'll probably have a good few seconds of a lead there. I'm just looking to see, yes, the Seat's gone through. It's gone through, so Adam Jones has gone through to take the overall lead then. So Michael Symons is going to rejoin in second overall there. How on earth have they done that? The Seat's made up bags of time. I wonder whether the Geoff Steele Racing BMW has had a problem in the pit lane. Or perhaps a stop that took too long, but we'll find out soon enough. There is the Professional Motorsport World Export Seat leaving the pit lane. So obviously Graham Johnson handing over to Mike Robinson, and they're looking good at the moment because they're running third overall, so they're doing a very good job in the first race of the season. And it's all about consistency. Oh dear, I'm talking about consistency, another problem for Tony Skelton in the Renault Clio. But there's your race leader. It's a good form so far for Adam Jones in the Sub-Zero Wolf Seat. They were very strong last year, and they're looking to start the 2013 campaign with a win, and they're certainly going about it the right way at the moment. Well, Tony Skelton's race is not going any further, and there's battles now as the SG Racing Seat makes its move on the Professional Motorsport World Expo Seat. Beautiful move there from the Cunninghams. Not sure whether it's Mark or Peter at this stage. And it looks like, well, hang on, the Sub-Zero Wolf car is coming in. Well, it's already had its pit stop. What's going on here? I think we'll have to find out what this is all about just after the break.
Some of the biggest upheavals in American sports is in the world of motor racing, especially sports car racing. There's mergers, new series being proposed, audiences coming and going, drivers getting younger and younger. That's why you need the Racing Insiders on MAV TV to help you navigate the turmoil. The Racing Insiders is a new, weekly, 30-minute news show covering sports car racing, whether it's being done professionally, globally, or by the local grassroots club. Award-winning journalist Bill Wood will host the weekly discussions, along with race-winning insiders Peter Cunningham in Florida and Jim Daniels in Tennessee. It's a fast-paced, edgy sports show. They'll even reach out to guest insiders to bring you behind-the-scenes insider information you'll want to know. This new era in sports car racing needs the Racing Insiders.
The Racing Insiders on MAV TV, Thursdays at 2 and 5 p.m. Eastern, and again on Saturdays at noon.
Welcome back to Donington Park. Well, the reason the Craig Davies and Adam Jones Sub-Zero Wolf Seat has been brought into the pit lane is because they were too fast at their pit stop. In this championship, you have got to serve a minimum amount of time for each one of your pit stops, and they have obviously transgressed that and taken too fast a time to get that pit stop done and set them back underway. That's why they had such a big lead at the end of the pit stops. It was wishful thinking by the Sub-Zero Wolf boys, but they've taken their penalty, and now the mission is to get after the Geoff Steele Racing car of Michael Symons. We've got the HG Racing Seat chasing down the Intersport BMW of the 29 of Martin Thomas, and it looks like their indicator is jammed on there to face the right. I don't know whether that's strategy to try and put Martin Thomas off his stride, or whether they've genuinely got a problem with that. It's one of those things in endurance racing. Sometimes it is intentional and sometimes it clearly isn't. Well, that's not intentional. The Bubble and Kick BMW looks to be out of the race for the day. So too does Tony Skelton in the Renault Clio. Both cars succumbing to technical issues. Nothing of the like, though, for Michael Symons out in front. After that penalty, he's got himself a very nice gap to the Sub-Zero Wolf boys, who are going to spend the entire race trying to reel him in. But this guy knows what he's talking about. He won last year's Silverstone 24 Hours with the Geoff Steele Racing team and his colleagues within the team as well. He didn't do the whole thing on his own. He certainly likes to do these on his own. Well, looking at the HE Racing boys, they've dropped back a little bit from the Intersport BMW by the look of it, but they're certainly taking on the Eurotech Honda of Nigel Ainge and Mike Jordan. the British touring car star of the past. His son Andrew is within this team as well. I don't think he'll be at every race because he's got to keep up with his British touring car commitments, but he'll certainly be driving that car at selected events through the course of the year. Andrew Jordan, of course, was the British Touring Car Independence Champion last year, and he's got a serious chance of winning the whole thing this year, so this is a little bit of extra testing for him, if you like, having a play in the Honda Integra, and it's still a very good car compared to last year. Now, we've got the Intersport BMW of Hayes and Radcliffe in the number 9, still pushing their weight around on the circuit, trying to get closer to the MMC Motorsport boys. They've got him lined up very nicely here. Are they going to try and move down to the chicane? It looks like he's having a look. No, I think he's going to have to back out of it. Yes, he's got to back out of that. He's coming from too far back. If you try a banzai move this late in the race, you're not going to get a recovery if it goes wrong. You really will be out of the race. It's not quite as manic and panicked as touring car racing is. You've got to be a little bit more frugal when it comes to making those overtaking moves. You've got to be a little bit more cautious, play the long game. It's more like chess than it is a crazy game of skittles like British touring cars is. Looking back down the circuit there, Martin Thomas following in the wheel tracks of Michael Symons. That's probably the best possible line he could take. Learn from the master, who knows how to take his way around this circuit. But the Geoff Racing boys have once again done a fantastic job with that machine, closing up on the 44 Fold Sport of Roch and Mason to lap them, and then their next target is likely to be the 50 Ginetta of Chris Webster and Matt Nicol-Jones, just a little bit further up the road from them. Some great inter-class battles over the course of this. Hang on, that's the Intersport BMW. That's Hayes and Radcliffe. That's the number 9. Disaster. White flags on the back straight there. And that's clearly looking like it could end up being a retirement for the Intersport BMW. They started on the front row of the grid. They were brilliant in qualifying earlier in the day, and it's all gone just terribly, terribly wrong for them. This is a disaster to their season. Goodness me. So we now have the prospect of Michael Symons being pretty much unchallenged, because that penalty for Davies and Jones in the Sub-Zero Wolf has put them a very long way behind in terms of challenging. Yeah, that's not looking good for the Intersport BMW at all. The other one, however, still on track, making moves. Martin Thomas making waves by the look of things on the inside of the Fold Sport Seat. Not willing to go down without a fight though, side by side. And this is going to be a drag race down to Redgate. This is fantastic. Neither driver is prepared to give best. They're challenging each other. When are you going to brake? When am I going to brake? And that's a very late braking into the corner for Martin Thomas, but he's made it work. Oh, the back end steps out on the exit and down to Hollywood. They're going to be almost side by side. Oh, goodness me. The 44 Fold Sport Seat eventually backs out of it because they were coming across another Intersport car. It's the Mini Cooper of Danny Russell and Duncan Rogers. Thanks, mate. Cheers for getting in the way. I don't think that was intentional, but he certainly used it to good effect. So the Fold Sport boys continue on their way. That's the SG Racing Seat making good progress. The Cunninghams are currently running just a little way behind the HE Racing Seat, I believe, of Harry and Edward Cockill. So they're still very much in the top 6, in with a chance of a podium in class as well. They're running 3rd in class at the moment behind the Johnson and Robinson Performance Motorsport World Expo Seat. There's your challenger for Class 4 honours, Alan James in the Synchro Honda Jazz. Very capable car this. Martin Byford, last year's champion in the British Endurance Championship, actually competed in that car in the Britcar 24 Hours last year, so it's a good little bit of kit. The Cunninghams moving their way on track in front of Gilbert and Dawes. I don't think that's for on-track position. I think there might be a couple of laps between them. Oh, there's a problem there. Goodness me, it nearly went straight off at Coppice Corner. And the Track Talk Seat with a bit of smoke. I wonder if that was a bit of a mechanical problem coming out of that corner, or maybe it was just the tyre smoke as they tried to slow down for the corner. Well, the HE Racing still with that right indicator, hard on as they make the move down the inside on the MMC BMW, who again is not going to let him have the corner without a fair fight. Who's going to get there on the braking? Well, the HE Racing was on the inside and was not going to allow the MMC to get back in front. So that was very nicely judged there. And the team look like they are just as good in 2013 with the Seat Super Copa as they were last year with the Honda Civic Type R. So they're doing a brilliant job early on in the championship season. Considering they started this race from the pit lane, they've done an absolutely brilliant job, and full credit to them for engineering this car with such a short amount of time. Now here comes the Sub-Zero Wolf Seat swarming around the back of Martin Thomas's Intersport BMW like an angry bee trying to get back into the hive. This is brilliant. Fantastic stuff there from Adam Jones as he moves his way through past Martin Thomas. Down the Craner curves they go, and Thomas fancies another crack at this. Hang on a minute, you're not getting the place without a fight, sunshine. Let's see what you can do. But the Seat's got plenty of good speed through the Craner curves, and that's the position 1. Now into the pit lane comes Alan James. It's a bit late in the race for a pit stop, so I wonder if there's some kind of mechanical issue, or are they just having a quick splash and dash? It looks a little bit unsure. Maybe they're just changing the tyres towards the end of the race. I wonder if rain is starting to play a part. I can't see any spots of rain on our camera lens or anything, or perhaps they've just left a tyre change till late. It's difficult to tell in these situations. So the Sub-Zero Wolf Seat still ploughing on, desperately trying to close in on Michael Symons, the race leader in the Geoff Steer Racing Mark 1 BMW M3. Started from pole position and still leading the way, but the Sub-Zero Wolf boys are doing a very good job. Adam Jones is giving it everything he's got. From third on the grid, he's running second at the moment. He'll certainly get Class 2 honours, but he wants overall honours as well. Out goes Alan James in the Synchro Jazz. Oh, is that sounding a little bit on the ill side, or perhaps that's just the way they rev. HE Racing then on the inside again of ING Sport BMW to lap them, and they're doing a very good job themselves. They're looking for second place in Class 2 here, which, considering this is their first race of the season, that's a very good result indeed, and they were so consistent last year. Oh, a bit of an issue there. That's Nigel Ainge having a look at a technical problem with the engine there on the Honda Integra. So Mike Jordan must be in the car. There's one of the Wilds. I think it might be Mike who's in the car, bringing it into the pit lane for a bit of a spit and polish. Nobody's going to touch this man out front though. Michael Symons has driven a beautiful race all day long and has made this victory his own. He's looking very strong for the 2013 championship, and a checkered flag comes out. He takes the first race of the 2013 Britcar Production Cup Championship, but look back, just 7 seconds further up the road. The Sub-Zero Wolf team made up so much ground. Alan Jones has got to be rewarded for closing the gap down by so much. Brilliant job. He takes Class 2 and second overall. The Johnson and Robinson Seat is third overall and second in Class 1, with HE Racing fourth, the Cunninghams in fifth, and the MMC Motorsport boys in sixth position. Class 3 winners are the Lawson and Wilds team. And in Class 4, it goes to 11th place overall. Anthony Rogers and Dave Barker in the TCS Ginetta. But what a win for Michael Symons.
Michael, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Clearly Plan A worked. Tell us all about the race. Did it go according to plan throughout?
Well, I'm racing by myself this weekend because Keith broke his arm, so I took a full fuel tank with me so that I could race. I could come in for my pit stop any time within the 90 minutes. Right. So at the beginning it's really heavy. Yeah. And I knew last year when I did, I just cooked the tyres, so I had to ease off at the beginning, which is why I let Mark go, and then reeled him in a bit when I fancied overtaking. You know, it's like.
I know exactly. And so when did you think this is it? I've got a very good chance of winning.
Well, when I knew I was in the lead after the pit stop, my pit stop, I knew I had a chance. But then I knew that the guy behind's a very fast driver and he's closing on me all the time. Yeah. And the boys were telling me the time difference every lap and, encouraging me to go for it. And I felt like I was driving a qualifying lap.
Yeah.
I had two new tyres, so it was a bit better than it was in the first half. But it just felt like I was doing a qualifying lap every lap. And I'm absolutely knackered now.
Well, congratulations to both of you. How did you find that race?
It was difficult. I mean, Craig started the race and he had his hands full and his mirrors were full at the same time. But yeah, it was just busy, just really busy, and he wasn't over till he was over, literally.
It was dead exciting. Adam second stint and took it right down to the wire, chasing down. We had a stop-go penalty for a slightly short pit stop, just 5 seconds, but we'll get it right next time. That's for sure.
That's what adds to the excitement in racing.
It was, yeah.
When it's this tight, when it's, when you don't know if you can actually get there. So what have you learned from this race that you're quickly going to take for next week?
Get a slower stopwatch. Get a slower stopwatch.
I've got one of them is 5.
Yeah, that's I need an egg timer maybe, but it's just, you live and learn. You learn not to make the same mistakes twice. As long as we don't do that, we'll be back and hopefully we'll get another win.
They'll certainly be trying. Get well soon as well to Keith Webster. You'll be very happy to hear that your boys just won you a race. The top 4 class winners, of course, at the top of the championship, and anything can happen from here on in. We'll see you next time